No, there has been definitely like a change of guard in a way in the Finnish scene, that the older bands like Demilich and Torture Killer and those bands, Demigod, and they've been like kind of winding it down, because I get it, the guys are starting to be like 40, 50 years old, so they're a bit like winding it down. And for some time the scene was like nothing was kind of happening, and everyone was like waiting, like when will the next generation like really start showing up to the shows, be like making music. And we were all afraid that they all just want to be David Guetta's. But then like in the last 5 years, suddenly an explosion of all kinds of bands, and I definitely have to give a shout out to Ilkka from Helsinki Death Fest and the other guys in HDF, that they've helped us to create, like, have our own proper festival with only with like real death metal bands, and then helping us to create that vibe of community.
Hello friends, welcome to episode 181 of Into the Necrosphere. This week my guests are Kride Lathti and Antti Poutanen of the band Church of the Dead. Acolytes of Into the Necrosphere will recall that I was rather smitten with their new release, Beyond Death. I reviewed it a couple of weeks ago, and of course I knew I would need to get them on the podcast to talk to me about how the record was written and share some more of their own journey into this weird and wonderful scene that we inhabit. Before we get to that though, I've got another unsigned gem that I have unearthed for the Legions. This is a band called Eftboren. They are a black metal duo out of the UK. They've recently released a EP that is self-titled, described to me as Dark Throne channeling Hawkwind. I think it's rather interesting, and I think you will agree. This is one of my favorite songs off that EP. It's called Devoured by Saturn. Devoured by Saturn by Eftboren out of the UK, off the EP of the same name. Do go and check it out. I will post the link to their Bandcamp in the description to the podcast, and if you buy yourself some music, then let them know that it was old Jackson at Into the Necrosphere that sent you. Friends, if you're new to the podcast and you like what you hear, then deliver a 450 splash off the top rope on the subscribe button to your platform of choice, whether that is Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, wherever you consume your podcasts on, you are likely to find Into the Necrosphere. Do follow me on social media as well, and if you really want to show your love and support to the show, then head over to the Into the Necrosphere Teespring store, buy yourself some merch, post some photos of yourself online, particularly if you're an attractive human being, and know that every cent that I make out of the Teespring store gets plowed straight back into the podcast. Also, make sure that you follow my fellow horsemen of the podcast apocalypse. Every Monday, we've got Brandon Legion bringing you Horrible 666. On Tuesday, there's yours truly casting hexes and slaying poses on Into the Necrosphere. Every Wednesday, we've got Sensei Mike Hill bringing you his long-running podcast, Everything Went Black. He returns every Thursday with Necromaniacs alongside his co-hosts, Mike Scandado and Jeff Kashid. And then every Sunday, the Reverend Carl Haikara brings you a deep dive into the weird, the esoteric, the occult, and the arcane with his podcast, Soul Knox. Also, stick around after my conversation with the gentleman from Church of the Dead. I will be reviewing the new record by Johnny the Boy. The album is entitled You. I have been very, very excited about this release. Again, something that I've spoken about a couple of times now on various segments of the podcast, including my news rant, which you can listen to straight after I've spoken about the Johnny the Boy record. So stick around for that. Sit back, enjoy the show as I welcome to the podcast for the first time, Kride and Antti of Church of the Dead. So welcome to Into the Necrosphere, gentlemen. And, as I was saying to you before we started recording, as soon as I heard the Christborn video, also watched the Christborn video, you guys were immediately up on my radar. And then, obviously the expectation built, and when Beyond Death came out, I was like, this is fucking brilliant, and I have to get these guys on the show. So very happy to finally, or not finally, but to make your acquaintance and to finally get to talk to you guys. How are you feeling about the response to the record so far? Because I can't imagine the enthusiasm is just coming from me.
No, I mean we were super excited by the response from people, especially since Christborn is a odd one on the album because it's the most heaviest song definitely on the album, and I was a bit afraid when people were reacting so strongly to Christborn that how they would respond to the rest of the album, even though it has the same darkness and feel to it, but Christborn definitely stands out on the album. But the response has been great, and we're totally humbled by it.
Yeah, I think because just like Antti said, Christborn is the heaviest song, but there is a lot of variations going on, more like crust punk stuff going on, and some people have said that it's a weird mix between like genres, and but that's just
us. Yeah,
that's just our style of songwriting.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the great thing about where extreme music is going right now. I think it's that there is so. I mean, I think those lines between genres, whether it's black and death metal or thrash and black metal, even as you say, crust punk, hardcore, it's becoming really, really frayed, and bands are less afraid or less hesitant to include a lot of those influences in their music. I mean, I think the thing that got me straight away, was listening to the first track, was hearing some of that black metal influence, in Dawn of the Wizard, because, everywhere where you guys included some of that melody and just that sprinkling, that dusting of black metal, it just elevates the song massively because it makes the heavier parts sound way heavier. And then, but it makes you guys also sound distinct. You're not just a technical death metal band or a band just trying to sound heavy. It's almost like you putting punctuation in between the riffs, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, well, but that has been at least my goal for like making music, because I have grown up listening to a lot of like old music, and I think people used to make music more like the more variation in music. Nowadays, when a heavy metal album comes out, it's really like how do I say it? People want like
They don't want to leave the sandbox. Like they've chosen that this is my sandbox, and then they don't want to stick to it. Like we're going to be a traditional heavy metal band, and we have to only do the traditional thing and not do anything crazy.
Yeah, maybe I think bands like lack of variation, or how should I call it? I don't know.
But yeah, but we haven't been afraid to like that we have a lot of different influences from all kinds of bands and genres that we inside heavy metal that we like, and we're not afraid to like you said, sprinkle. And the sound has definitely evolved more into the black metal sound each album, without fully again crossing that we decide that okay, now our sandbox is only black metal and we will not do anything stonery, doomy, or
I would definitely not would like to be a black metal band, but black metal is what I love. But
so how did this outfit come together? Because it's the two of you and then your vocalist, right?
Yeah, Jussi. But Jussi, our kind of new vocalist, he's been
4 or 5 years.
4 years, with us. But even before that, we were getting into the direction like with more like this blackish feeling. But honestly, I think we just we didn't manage to get that just there where we wanted. I think all came like together better now with Beyond Death. I think the elements are there in our like first full length, but it's not quite yet there. And half the songs are like old ones when we did
the EPs.
Yeah, when we did the EPs, and then when we recorded our first full length, was like half the songs were like old, like really old,
with a modern take.
I was about to say, how old would those, or how far back would those songs date?
So no, well, the first one. So actually, originally, if we go all the way back, so in 2006. So in 2006, me and Kride, we had a death metal band, more like American style, called Lithuria. And then we broke up in 2012. Our drummer decided to become a house electro DJ, and he moved to Ibiza, and he started the party life in Ibiza. And then we stopped the band. But then me and Kride, we were like, hey, we still want to do stuff together, but maybe not anymore like this Devarment inspired, like US. It wasn't slam back in the day, because I don't think slam existed as it is known now, but it was more like US style, and our home has more always been the crust punk, black metal, European death. So me and Krida, we were like, hey, let's keep making music together. But we started then Church of the Dead, a completely new band, separate from that old Lithuria stuff. And we started the same year, 2012, and then we put out EPs. Like, I have to check from Metal Archives, but like every 7 months we put out an EP for some time.
Like
you're absolutely right. So you kind of had Stay Out of My Grave was the first EP you brought out. Terror Tales, Rave to the Grave, Meet Me in the Tomb, which is a cool name for an EP. Forever Dead, and then first full-length album, which is your self-titled record that comes out in 2020.
So like there's like 12 or 10 years or something.
No, 11 years, but like 10 years. So, and then we took like some of the old songs from the EPs all the way from 2012, and then we of course like remade them in a way. So if you listen to the EP version, they're totally different from the current one. But then we did that with the first album. So we had a few new songs, few old ones that we were like, now we can finally do them the way we actually wanted to do them in the first place. And now with Beyond Death, it's more newer material, even though there's
the song Abyss from our first album was the first song I wrote to Church of the Dead. So it goes that
way back.
That way back. And Necro Vulture was the second song I wrote.
Yeah.
That also we made it a new version.
This one definitely. So I think the thing that immediately strikes me about Beyond Death is it sounds like a very focused, very centered record. I think there's this moment that you can hear from a lot of great bands where it feels like or it sounds like they find their feet, or they find their confidence in their sound. This definitely, I did go back and listen to the debut record, and in comparison, I mean, this is a much more confident record, and this is definitely a record that it's far more zoned in on a sound that feels uniquely yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think we also found our way to how we work on the album, and we were more confident about how we did the synth keyboard, the atmospheric stuff. That they were more, even though they're not that prominent, but for us, we thought a lot more about them while we were making the songs on Beyond Death. On the first one, they were more like we had made the songs, and then after they were kind of ready, we started thinking about those elements to like add to those songs. But now it's more focused, and we have thought about them as part of the process, so they don't feel like an add-on, even though in the first one I don't think they feel that add-on, but for us,
in the first record, we improvised like all of the. You can't even hear the ambience or the stuff there's going on. You can in some songs like Something Came Out of the Woods and Coffin Craft, you can hear the synths and stuff like that, but they were all like improvised in the heat of the moment. But this time we actually took time to
learning lessons from the previous record and deploying it this time around. Are you guys a band that, in terms of your writing, you're a band room band, or do you tend to kind of work separately and share riffs and things like that?
No. So Kride makes the hard work. He's the guy lifting the heavy weight. So he does most of the like original writing, and then when Kride has like a lot of stuff, I'd say like 60% ready, then he starts like taking us rest in, and then we start working on stuff together with Kride.
Yeah, I'm really like, I like to just my nature, I like to work alone, but we have actually discussed a lot about it.
On the ways of working.
Yeah, all the ways of working that, and I try to bring everybody to the
into the mix. Yeah, to bring everybody into the mix. But we do play a lot of like, we like to jam and a lot of like stuff then starts really evolving when we start like in the practice place, but we don't really make songs in the practice room like jamming style.
Yeah, I always have some kind of thing that this is the thing, but we can do whatever we want to it, whatever we feel like.
And you've had, I mean, I know you involved in or at least were involved in a couple of different bands, but Church of the Dead is your main priority now. So you had Satan's Fall that you've been part of, Ghoul Patrol, Dead Shape Figure, Clutch Mental Hospital. None of those are still going on.
Don't forget Sonic the Hedgehog.
Well, Sonic the Hedgehog was that was an album that Clutch.
Yeah, it was an album of Clutch Mental Hospital. It was actually the guy,
the DJ
guy who moved to Ibiza. He was the other guy from that band.
So what was his? I guess what changed in his life that made him decide to go, seek the party life in Ibiza?
I don't know, but he's a phenomenal musician, drummer, keyboard player.
He was actually
really talented guy.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal dude. He actually started working in a studio. This is like Helsinki, Finland trivia for you. But there's like this fortress island just outside Finland that was used as a fortress to protect the city back in the day, and they have a very famous studio where like Hanoi Rocks and other bands have been like recording stuff. And Perttu was actually living on that island. There's a small military base still, and people live there. Not that many, but people live there, and he used to like live there, and then he worked in the studio. And I think he was bit by the producer bug in the studio, because he was working with all kinds of music and like that studio life. So I think that was kind of what took him then into the making electronic music and producing stuff.
The guy is just talented. Whatever he does, he's
So you didn't think it had anything to do with the fact that that it's also a more lucrative thing to be in, at least from a musical perspective? I mean, if you like Tiesto or Steve Aoki, I've always because I'm so far removed from that scene. Anytime that I talk to somebody who's into that, and they show me like clips of shows these guys are I mean, I wouldn't say they're playing at, but they're DJing at. It just blows my mind. I mean, there's like 60,000-70,000 people there. It's like a massive event. I guess it's different strokes for different folks, but I've never once in my entire life thought, it'd be fun watching a guy change records around on labels.
I hear you.
But that's why we stayed and made this band instead of following him in.
But I don't want to step to anybody's toes.
No, I mean, like I said, I mean, I get it. It's I mean, it's definitely more money.
I actually get it. Yeah, I get it too.
The women are very attractive as well. That helps. But it's just I could never, if some dude said to me, "Hey, we're gonna go watch Paul Oakenfold," I'd go, "Yeah, enjoy yourself." I'm not sure I'll be joining you for that shit.
I think we're old school, that we prefer, even if it's like electronic music, we prefer those like I would still call bands that still play Prodigy, because they still play a lot, and it's like you can feel it comes from their hands, and not like just David Guetta is having a heart that he forgot his USB stick, show cancelled, and like not that stuff.
I walked past a building site with a massive magnet. Sorry, my laptop doesn't work anymore. Well, I'm with you on Prodigy though. I've spoken about that so many times on this podcast. I'm a huge fan. I saw them last year for their reunion show at Brixton Academy, and it was ridiculously good. I mean, they are, in my opinion, one of the premier live bands you'll ever see. And Maxim, I don't care what genre of music you're into, you can't watch that guy and not think this is like a elite level frontman.
Yeah, and also like, I don't know how to pronounce, but Perturbator, Carpenter Brute.
The synthwave scene is having that correct vibe for me, that they still play and like love having those analog or synths that modulate, being the analog real thing, and those are cool.
My frame of reference there is pretty limited. I like Prodigy, I like Perturbator. I'm a big fan of earlier Combi Christ. I think when Combi Christ decided they were going to become a guitar band, I was like, oh yes, that's why. There's so many bands that sound exactly the way that you guys are trying to sound now, why do you not just stick to, Everybody Hates You and records like that? But be that as it may, that kind of stuff I think is pretty cool. That like really hard industrial like electronica stuff, I think that's cool. But the other problem that I have with David Guetta and all that sort of stuff, it's cheerful. I'm not a fan of cheerful music, so
Yeah.
No, us Finns, we Finns understand you that happy thoughts are weird thoughts and only expressed when drunk.
It doesn't belong in music. So I wanted to ask you actually, because Antti, some folks that are watching this, they might not know that you're also in Divenial Verdict, and obviously I had some of the guys from Divenial Verdict on another complete and utter beast of a record, and I haven't actually gone back and rewatched that episode, but I'm sure I asked them this question. What is going on in Finland at the moment? Because I feel like almost every other week I'm introduced to a new killer band from Finland. And there seems to be this real creative groundswell going on in the country right now. And I know it's probably sometimes you don't notice it when you're in it. But I guess the first question is there a sense amongst like or firstly, is there a community? And secondly, is there a sense amongst the guys that are in bands like you know, like your bros in Divenial Verdict, that something pretty exciting is going on in Finland? Because at least as an outsider, that is what it would seem like to me.
No, there has been definitely like a change of guard in a way in the Finnish scene, that the older bands like Demilich and Torture Killer and those bands, Demigod, and they've been like kind of winding it down, because I get it, the guys are starting to be like 40, 50 years old, so they're a bit like winding it down. And for some time the scene was like nothing was kind of happening, and everyone was like waiting, like when will the next generation like really start showing up to the shows, be like making music, and we were all afraid that they all just want to be David Guettas. But then like in the last 5 years, suddenly an explosion of all kinds of bands, and I definitely have to give a shout out to Ilkka from Helsinki Death Fest and the other guys in HGF, that they've helped us to create, like, have our own proper festival with only with like real death metal bands, and then helping us to create that vibe of community, and it's been exciting to see, and even it's been cool to see, not that I don't think there's any like these different like separated by this, but like even the Dark Descent clan of Gorephilias and Lion Ruins and all these Crypts and all these other great bands are also like embracing the even though I think they're like in between the old and the new guard, but they're like embracing this, and we have all the time good shows with those guys, and they're all great dudes.
And I was about to say, you guys don't just have, I mean, you mentioned that festival, but I mean, you guys also have a couple of other pretty wicked festivals in Finland. So you've got Steelfest. I know at the last Steelfest you had Marduk, you had Gehenna, you had Carpathian Forest, Behexen, Destroyer 666. I mean, that's a very, very, very serious lineup. So it definitely feels like also, I'm keen to get your take on this too, but the support for this music in Finland seems to be really strong at the moment. Was there a period of time where that had kind of died down a little bit, where you saw show attendance become less and then it picked up, or has it kind of been relatively consistent?
No, there was like, for a brief moment of time, like metal was popular, and that was like the heyday of Nightwish, Children of Bodom, like they were becoming an international household name. And then for a brief period of time, metal was like we would call it like, you could living room stuff, or for everyday people, like you would hear it in the shopping mall and you're like what the fuck they're playing.
It all began when Lordi win the Eurovision Song Contest.
And you mean the downward descent began when Lordi won the Eurovision Song Contest?
And then you could like see the spike that suddenly metal was the hottest thing, and people started booking it to like more to the rock festivals and so on. And then that lasted for a brief time, and then when that came crushing down, and then you had only the underground scene, of course, survived it. Like everybody else, pretty much then changed to whatever the new hot thing is, and a lot of bands just quit and started doing like more radio friendly stuff. And now you start seeing until COVID came, you could see like the crowds were like slowly rising, not of course to the Lordi levels, but like you could see like a rebound, and people were again more interested in the underground scene of because Finland has always had a very good punk scene, so we get support from grindcore and punk hardcore shows. So like we have the Lappeenranta Hardcore Fest, and you have the then of course Tuska Festival in Helsinki, one of the biggest outdoor metal festivals in Scandinavia. So we're in a very good place that we have these like places that support the scene and help keep it fresh.
Did you see a big change in the attendance after the COVID lockdowns and things like that lifted? So, I think in the UK, for example, and it's consistent with what I've been told by my friends in the US, is there definitely seemed to be a real appetite for shows to kick back up again when when the lockdowns lifted. And so when that happened, the energy at the shows were crazy. Like, there were more people going, shows were sold out. It feels like people had been starved for it for such a long time. And they'd maybe been made aware of the reality that, this could go away. When they finally had the opportunity to experience that again, they grabbed hold of that with both hands.
Yeah, I mean, last weekend we had Rammstein sell out the stadium twice, and they were actually saying that they could have sold out a third show. Yeah, you could clearly see that, and now, of course, it's a problem, but I don't want to label it as a real problem. But now that because of COVID, a lot of bands had to wait; they couldn't tour, or they've all, like us, we made an album during COVID, so now everyone has the need, of course, to like play it. So now you have the other end, which is that you have too many shows because everyone now tries to have that show after COVID, and then the population of metal fans is still the same. So now suddenly they have to choose between 6 shows a week, and people go to shows, but you start to see that some shows like get sold out, and then the others get a bit like left hanging because like one show during the week will kind of like steal most of the crowd. So it's a good thing. So you have more music to go see than ever, but also in a way a bad thing because now we're eating others alive in the scene.
Yeah, if you're just a fan, it's boom time because you're spoiled for choice. But as you say, it means that people only have X amount of money to spend. There is in I think the cost of living crisis, would certainly impact Finland as well. I know your inflation rate is about 7% right now, which is higher than it's been. So people feel that in their back pockets, and we're also getting, all of us, at least in my experience, most of the fans of this style of music are getting older. The days of me being able to go to 3-4 shows in the space of a single week, that's over. I couldn't fucking do that again if you paid me. So
I can go like 1 or 2 shows in a month. That's my
dude. I remember there was a time when I was writing for Chronicles of Chaos where I would be on every single guest list. I went on a run once where I went to see Sepultura on the Sunday night, 6 Feet Under on the Monday night, Slayer on the Tuesday night. And I was so tired by the time that I got to work on the Wednesday. I fell asleep midway through a phone call. My boss sent me home. And then I think on the Friday and the Saturday, I was back to more shows. And it's like, I was a 20-year-old man then. There's no fucking chance I could do that right now. I'm kind of the same as you. I can go to a couple a month, at a stretch maybe, but even then, I think that's also unlikely.
And if we have like our own shows to do, then I won't go to
that's
show.
it.
That's enough. Our own shows.
But this weekend is a good example that on Thursday we have Faceless Burial from Australia here. On Friday there's a club festival that has biased. Concrete Winds, Divino Verdict. On Saturday we have Viegedud, Rotten Sound, Mariano's Rest. So like a very busy weekend, and hope people find the energy to show up at least one of, or hopefully more of those shows.
Yeah. Hold on for 10 seconds. I just need to do something. Wait. The dog sometimes comes to see. She's become like a permanent guest host on the podcast, because people are now spotting her in the background with her head popping up when she lies on the sofa. But she's going to sit and make a noise here if we keep her here. But I was going to ask you, actually, Divinial Verdict. You guys played that Transcending Obscurity Fest that was held in Prague. Yeah, that seemed, from what I could tell, because I'm friends with the Transcending Obscurity owner on Facebook, and from everything he posted, it seemed like that was really successful. That went down really well.
No, yeah, it was good. Like we were excited to meet a lot of the bands, because the label being based in India, and a lot of the bands being like all over the world and Europe. Even though like in this edition, of course, only European bands came, but like it was great to hang out with others and make connections and like hundreds of tour plans and show plans with bands were made. Let's see if any of them come to fruition. But like we had so much fun connecting with the fans and fellow musicians, and Prague is an awesome place for a Finnish person. Like here, a beer is like at the bar like 8 euros, like 12 euros, 15 euros on a festival easily. In Prague, it was like 2 euros. Pina colada 3.
You need to go play South Africa, mate. You'll see what cheap is there. So, cheap and high quality as well. But the label you guys are on, Redefining Darkness Records. I mean, that's a pretty tasty label as well. You've got Angerot, who put out their record on that. You got some serious names that they're busy signing up at the moment. How did your relationship with them start?
It actually started with our first record.
He has a distro alongside the label.
And he asked...
he wanted to buy our albums for his distro.
And if I don't want to lie, but we were actually talking about some North America release. I think he asked that could it be possible, and our current label said no to that. But the name kind of stick to me, Redefining Darkness. And when we were looking at label to release Beyond Death, it popped up to my head, and we sent it Tommy.
Yeah, he was like the first name on the list when we were like thinking potential like labels to get in touch with, and because he had loved the first album so much, and like Kride said, wanted to first license it, but when that didn't happen, then he took it under his distribution, and then when we played the album to him, he loved it, and our quest was over before it even began, and it was really easy to call Redefining Darkness home.
Yeah, and it seems like a great fit for you guys as well, because like I said, if you think about other bands like that they've signed, like Angerot, like I said, it seems like it's a good spot for you guys to be in. In terms of playing shows and touring and things like that, are there plans in the offing for you guys to go out on the road?
But to be honest, maybe no, but that's quite an unfortunate thing.
Finland is a pretty tough location for touring because of the pond. You always have to like fly out or like take a boat, and the logistics start getting pretty difficult like pretty fast. But let's see. Never say never. But I mean, at least in Finland, we keep playing shows. But let's see. But no immediate. So I can tell the fans, sorry, we're no immediate plans for a European tour next summer.
And I think maybe we plan some shows to the maybe fall. I think summer will be like, I would like to just make some new music.
Mm-hmm. So there were a couple of other. So let's talk first of all about the one cover I think you guys were very ballsy to include on the new record, and that's Chainsaw Gutsfuck. Which I mean, firstly, you guys did it tremendous justice. I played it on the last episode of the podcast, and I think it sounds great. But it's always a big ask taking on a song like that, where people are going to have such strong feelings about it. But I could see, Antti, you kind of rubbing your hands together when I mentioned it. What was the what made you guys decide on that song in particular?
Actually, the original idea was our former drummers. It was Tommy's idea to. It was just I don't think it was a joke, but he always talked about, hey, we could play this song and we could play that song, and then one time he was like, Chainsaw Gutsfuck has a great riff. And I was like, yeah, that's true. And I wanted to give it a shot. We almost improvised it to the record.
It sounds like that as well, which is what makes it even cooler. Because what it reminded me of a little bit is like when you see Mayhem play that song live nowadays, it has that same improvised feel. It's got that really sort of loose, unhinged way that they do it. And you guys really seem to nail that with a cover on the record.
Yeah, we did. Sure. We listened to the songs. I learned the riffs and stuff like that. I wrote the song on paper, and then we just started to play. I think it was 2 takes, and that's the other one. Then I did the guitar work, like
later on afterwards.
I did the guitar work afterwards.
But in general, we have not been afraid to do what I would call ballsy covers. Because actually, we have made.
I was going to ask you the next one, Jesus Hitler by Carnivore. That's even more ballsy.
Because we've always loved that. Because I don't know where the love of doing covers has come. Because we've done covers through the career. Like there's more covers we have not released, but we have played it many times live, and we have it fully recorded. But we did Witching Hour by Venom.
We have Pet Cemetery,
which is also a great song.
We have Pet Cemetery from Ramones, but it's unreleased.
But we made it in the studio and decided, like, let's have it as a B track. And then as before I mentioned, we made a cover EP where we had the Carnivore cover and Crowbar, and I think we like we want to make covers, but not pick the most obvious song, but still not go too obscure. Like find that sweet spot and try to stay true to the original, but not trying to copy it. Like have it sound us. And I think that's very important when doing covers, that you have to still sound yourself when you're doing it.
No, absolutely. And the best covers are covers that I feel like the band filter through their own creative sensibilities and lend their own ear to it. I mean, if I had to count down some of my favorite covers ever, we were talking about Carnivore there. I think the Typo Negative cover of Black Sabbath is absolutely
it's maybe
incredible.
It's maybe the best one.
Yeah, I mean it's almost unrecognizable from the original song, but I mean they just take the basic idea and they just elevate it to like just a crazy level.
Has the same vibe as Anal Nathrak covering Iron Maiden.
Pretty much, yeah.
I didn't recognize the first time I heard it. I was listening to it and I was like, is this Iron Maiden? Like I had to check. Like now
it was Fear of the Dark.
They did Power Slave.
Power Slave, yeah.
Power Slave, okay.
Which, even though I'm not the biggest Iron Maiden fan, I mean, I have to concede it's a great song. Actually, speaking of Iron Maiden covers, here's another great cover for you, because I know you guys are Crowbar fans as well. Crowbar doing Remember Tomorrow. That is fucking genius.
Yeah, I've heard it.
Have you heard that?
Yeah, I have.
That is awesome.
Iron Maiden, it's a holy thing for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, it's Iron Maiden.
Yeah. Have you seen the what songs they're playing on their tour that they've set up off on now? They did like I think the show they played on Sunday night. They started off with Alexander the Great. They've played like a whole bunch of deep cuts and stuff that they've either never played before or they haven't played for several years.
Yeah, I saw the set list. Someone posted it on Instagram or something. I saw the set list. It was pretty amazing, but I'm not going to.
Actually, aren't they in Finland this weekend? In Tampere?
Yeah, in Tampere.
You're not going to see them anymore. How come?
No, I saw them last year. That's it for me.
best band in the world, but time for live music is maybe over for them.
Yeah.
I must confess. So I saw them about probably 8 or 9 years ago, but it's because I got free tickets, and I was pretty bored. I didn't. It just didn't do much for me. There were a couple of songs that were cool. I thought the stage set was pretty good, but it didn't. I need to feel. I like anarchy and craziness on stage. So when it comes to live shows, for me, generally speaking, I think hardcore bands are much more entertaining than a lot of metal bands. I would take watching a band like Terror 9 times out of 10 over watching just about any other black metal band, and black metal is my favorite style of music. So but you see Scott Vogel on stage yelling and shouting at the audience, and there's the craziness on stage, people fucking flying all over the place.
Stage it's just madness.
Yeah, it's just great. I love that. I wish more, because the heavier bands that have brought some of that aesthetic to their live shows, it's always awesome. It works really, really well. And even like when we were talking about Mayhem now, like when they do Chainsaw Gutsfuck and they've got that like really crusty way of playing it, and they kind of all over the show. So much that part of the show, when I've seen them play it recently, is much less organized and much less kind of choreographed and calculated than the rest of the show. That's the part of the show that I love the most, because it's like I feel like anything can happen at any moment, and that's why I go to shows. I'm not going to shows because I want to hear songs replicated straight off the album. If I wanted to hear that, I'll listen to it on my hi-fi.
Yeah. Mayhem still has that feel of chaos and danger. Danger when you see them live.
I'm going to see Mayhem like next month in Oslo.
Oh, dude,
I'm really waiting that.
That's like the best place possible to see them as well. But they also get like the other basics of a show, right? Like I've one of the things that I've come to really detest, it probably from about 2011, 2012, I started to notice it. Bands weren't doing they didn't have anybody like doing their sound check for them before they walked on stage. So the band comes on stage, they check their own instruments, and then they just start playing. And it's like there's no build up, there's no excitement to that. I get it if it's the first support band or something like that, but if it's a band like Suffocation that are playing, I want the lights off, and I want the intro tape playing, and I want that feel that you get like before the band comes on. Mayhem does that brilliantly, because they've got that Wolf's Lair Abyss intro that they play. They've got that crazy like light they shine on the audience. All you hear is that weird bass, like the brrr, brrr, and it's like as soon as you start seeing the figures come on stage, you feel that energy build up. It's like but I live for that. I live for that feeling. That's like almost one of the best parts of the show. And when you take that away, because you're standing there on stage kind of fucking about with your instruments, and then turn to your mates like, okay, let's start.
But that's the thing you have to earn. You cannot have it like right away. You have to earn it.
Reminds me, I saw one tour with Misery Index, Behemoth, and Cannibal Corpse. Behemoth, in mid intros, like so choreographed, the lights, like everything, the costume changes, it's already like a different beast, like it or not. And then Cannibal Corpse followed them as the headliner. They just had the normal lights on, like you said. They sound check himself. Corpse Grinder just took a hoodie off, and he was like, all right, you know who we are, and they started the show. And I'm like, wow, like the difference between just seeing like this fire and choreography and like planned behemoth stage production, and then just Cannibal Corpse just walking to their rehearsal space with like 6,000 people watching was pretty surreal.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like as I said, I'm not paying to see a band rehearse. There's some people that can pull it off, like Glenn Benton. I've my favorite Deicide show ever was him just staggering on stage drunk, taking his bass, shouting some abuse at the audience, and then starting to play. It was the I don't know if you guys know the video, but the When Satan Lives video that Earache put out in I think it was like 2009.
Was it from London?
Yes, I was at that show.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing about that show was I was standing in the queue waiting to go into the Mean Fiddler, and Glenn walked past, and he had a half-drunk bottle of Jack Daniels on him. And I said to my cousin who was with me, I was like, this is going to be a good show. You can see he's already 3 sheets to the wind. And he walked on stage, and it's like, I can't remember what he said. It was something like, London, 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 land of big tits and fish and chips.
yeah, I remember that. It's fucking awesome.
I mean, that was badass. So some people can get away with it, but I do like the vibe. Like I remember seeing Nile back when they had Chief Spires in the band, and it was like, they had the fucking cool intro tape, and then in between all of the songs, they kept on playing like the orchestral classical like Egyptian stuff, and he's like standing there with this huge chain around him, muscled up, looking like an absolute badass, just yelling stuff at the audience. It was such a great feeling you got from stage. It was just like it sort of immersed you in the show in a way that just someone doing bog standard stuff just does not do.
No, I think we agree, and we like to come like our own live shows, even though our production values of course are on a different level, but lesser level. But like definitely like that's something we think about, and we want that it's a performance, and then people get immersed into it, and
but you get there little by little.
Yeah. Well, everyone starts somewhere. Rammstein used to cruise around in a city Golf with like some firecrackers. I mean, and this isn't even bullshit. That's like a legit part of their story. When they were living in Eastern Germany, they had some fireworks and some garbage in the back of the city Golf, and the whole band would pile into that, and they would go to wherever they were going to play. And look at what they do now. They got 400 people. I mean, literally 400 people erecting and tearing down a stage over 5 days. Even like Metallica. I'm not a fan of the round, or not round, but there's that weird shaped stage with them all over the fucking place. I don't really like that. Again, I like to see a band on stage, like together. Like I want to see them come out. It needs to feel like a gang when they come out on stage. Yeah. Like Biohazard is a gang. Terror is a gang. Madball is a gang. That's again back to the hardcore stuff that I really, really like. I like that. I just love that vibe that hardcore has. Agnostic Front. I mean, I've seen them live so many times, but it's just such a buzz that you get when you see them play.
Yeah.
Now, last question for you guys, and then I'll let you go. On the topic of covers, any like wild ideas that you guys have thrown around when it comes to covers that people wouldn't expect? Portishead covers, perhaps.
Excellent band. Dummy is one of the best
Portishead.
albums of all time. Dummy is one of the best albums of all time.
I have like I have 2 pretty wild ideas. Have been going around like years, but we haven't have the time or the right time to even try them out. The other one, surprisingly, we did the Carnivore, but the other one would be like a Typo Negative. I'm a huge fan. They have some punk songs, and like some of the stuff is almost like Carnivore if you play it like roughly.
Like I said, that we want to avoid the obvious ones, but still something that fits us. But like typo is one that we've been discussing, but there's a few aces up our sleeve that I think we're gonna try. Like I said, we are also not afraid to just leave them in the archives if they don't come out the way. But definitely a few weird ones we're gonna try.
The more weird one, this is probably never gonna happen, but would be him.
Him?
Yeah.
Oh wow. I was about to say that would be ballsy. I must confess, I'm not the biggest fan of him. I don't know actually Nightwish or Lordy, but him I'm not a big fan of. Typo Negative, on the other hand, I mean, short of walking around with a fucking Typo Negative tattoo on my face, I am about as big a Typo fan as you can get.
I think at this point you're supposed to say that, hey, write in the comments which hymn song we're thinking about covering. So if you have an opinion about that.
But you got some similarities between him and Typo Negative also. There's a connection between those bands too.
Yeah. Also, stupid trivia. Our current drummer, Seppi, who's joined us now, he used to tour with Linde of Him on his solo project.
Daniel Lajana.
Yeah.
How, I mean, like you guys mentioned earlier about, those bigger names from Finland, in kind of not necessarily the metal scene, but certainly like the hard rock metal gateway scene, like Nightwish and Lordi and bands like that. How big are they in Finland nowadays? Was that kind of just a passing fancy? And have they become kind of, have they sort of found their own groove a bit, or are they still, absolutely huge? If they play, it's going to sell out multiple nights, etc.
I don't actually know about Lordi. They just released an album, and it was a decent one.
Yeah, this year.
I think so. But I think Nightwish it's huge.
Mm. Yeah, like Amorphis, Nightwish. If they play a festival show in Finland, a headliner automatically. But Lordi is not. They had a drop, and now they're trying to like build it back.
Yeah.
So I think that Eurovision was, of course, like a unicorn for them, that they're never gonna reach that height again.
They're never gonna hit that. Would you guys? Next year it's you guys at at Eurovision?
Yeah, with our hymn cover.
Oh yeah. Well, I think with your Mayhem cover, what you do is you get through to the final with the hymn cover, and then when they do the live finale and winners of 2024's Eurovision, Church of the Dead, and then you start the Chainsaw Gunsfuck cover.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Actually, I just thought now of another great cover. Mike Patton at a Faith No More show doing Glory Box, the Portishead song Glory Box, and you can understand how tongue-in-cheek it is because the chorus is "I just want to be a woman," but he does it so unbelievably well. You can check it out. It's on. Just go on YouTube and type in Mike Patton Glory Box. You'll see it.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant. I mean, he also is one of those people. It's like Pete Steele for me. He can more or less blow his nose and record it, and it's going to be something I want to listen to. So. But guys, thank you so much for your time, and congratulations on this record. I certainly hope I can do what I can, or I certainly will do what I can from my side to make sure that people pay attention, because I think it's sensational. And I genuinely do think there's something very exciting going on in Finland. And I think you guys, Devenial Verdict, you're the tip of the spear, so to speak. So
we appreciate.
Thanks a lot, and for everyone listening, just have a listen. That's all we ask. So
yeah.
I will make sure that they do. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Business.
That was Dawn of the Wizard by Church of the Dead, available right now on their fantastic new record, Beyond Death. You can get it on Redefining Darkness Records. Do not sleep on this album. It is absolutely sensational. And a big thank you to Kride and to Antti for coming on the show. Hopefully, at some point down the road, I will have them back on again. And one thing that I did forget to ask Antti about was the latest happenings in the Divenial Verdict camp, but he did tell me afterwards that apparently they are already working on a new record. So very excited to hear what that's going to end up sounding like. But yeah, big things happening over in Finland. I'll tell you where big things are also happening. The rehearsal room for Crippled Black Phoenix. So I want to talk about some new music, specifically the debut record by Johnny the Boy. And right from the outset, for those of you thinking that's a weird name for a band, it is a reference to Mad Max. That reference is made abundantly clear with a sample that they use early on the album. The album is entitled You. It's out now on Season of Mist Records. And for those of you guys that have been following the news rant, I have been talking about this album for a while now. I've been very, very excited about it, and I've had it for about 2.5 months, so I've lived with it for a fair degree. But like I said, it comes from or it got birthed in the rehearsal rooms for Crippled Black Phoenix. There's actually a Johnny the Boy track at the end of the last Crippled Black Phoenix record, Banefire. It's called No Regrets. And that song apparently so impressed the brass over at Season of Mist that they requested a full-length album in a similar vein. Now, the result are 8 tracks that I believe have a lot in common with that song, but it also really draws heavily from the darker elements of Crippled Black Phoenix's sound, and it also harkens back to Justin Greaves's days in Iron Monkey, along with a smattering of black metal. And that black metal element is interesting because it's very definitely there. It's very definitely present and palpable, and you can hear it on almost every single song. But it's never so in your face that it feels like it's kind of tacked on, or it feels like the band are trying to make a black metal record. It sounds very natural. There's also a couple of moments of crust punk, some high on fire type stoner stuff. But I mean, just a very, very sonically diverse record, and one that is intriguing from the moment that things get started. Like I said, it takes No Regrets as a jumping off point, but it really goes into a lot of different avenues from there. And I think one of the things that to me is a particular highlight of this record is the vocal performance of Belinda Cordic. She is known for her, frankly, pretty beautiful singing in Crippled Black Phoenix. She has a clean singing voice that reminds me a little bit of Chelsea Wolfe, but a myriad of other, really talented female singers too. Yeah, she deploys that style very, very sparingly, and when she does, it sounds absolutely sensational. But in the main, she sounds like Jeff Walker of Carcass were he to be possessed by many devils. I mean, she sounds so menacing and so convincing when she's doing these screams. And one of the things that I love absolutely the most about her performance is that she manages to master that critical element of extreme metal singing, as far as I'm concerned, which is to, really kind of pace and inject rhythm into her voice and let her voice become the hook of the songs. On other parts, she also has a kind of a croon that reminds me a little bit of Matt Pike. I referenced High on Fire earlier, but it's like a female version of Matt Pike. She does it especially well on a song called, I think the track is called He Moves. And then the last song, Without You, she does it again. And it is just absolutely sensational. But I mean, every single thing on this record comes together to absolute perfection as far as I'm concerned over the course of those 8 tracks. There's tons of atmosphere, tons of dynamics, and every single song is just completely and utterly memorable. It's something that, you can kind of pinpoint after the first listen, but going back to the record, it's one of those albums that the more I go back to it, the more I really seem to enjoy it. I really do hope that this is not a one-off for these guys, because, when you get to the end of the album, it absolutely feels like Johnny the Boy has plenty left to say. And you're going to find out exactly what at least one of their mantras sound like right now. This is the opening track off the album. It's called Die Already.
Johnny the Boy has done it again. This time it's a scrubber. He's never gonna learn. We are going to teach him, brother.
The name of the song is Die Already. The album is entitled You, the band Johnny the Boy, and that is available right now on Season of Mist Records. Link to their Bandcamp in the description to the podcast, and plans are afoot to get these folks on the show as well. So that is going to hopefully be happening over the course of the next couple of weeks. I have also got some very exciting guests in the pipeline beside these folks. So make sure that you are back here every single Tuesday like clockwork. And thank you so much to everybody for the huge support for last week's episode. That was much appreciated. And if you like those face-to-face type conversations, I've got quite a few of those in the pipeline too, including a couple that I'm going to be recording at Reaperfest, taking place at the Hairy Dog in Derby on July the 29th, July the 30th, and I think it's it. 2 days. I'll be there for both days, and hopefully I get to see a couple of the Legion as well. Right now, if you wish that your grandma's name was Nancy Pelosi, it's time to get to stepping, because this is my weekly news rant. All right, folks, we are on metalstorm.net, as always, for this segment. I'm about to crack myself open a cold Camden Hells lager, the best lager around. And if anybody knows anyone from Camden Hells, and they would like to pay me a substantial amount of money to sponsor the show. I know I said I would never accept any sponsors, but for them I will make an exception. I'll take some of their beer money. But anyway, let me have a swig of this, and wherever it is that you are right now, cheers. Right, so first up, we've got Nocturnal Breed, who have launched a new track. It says here, in the wake of their soon-to-be-released Carry the Beast album due out on June the 23rd, Nocturnal Breed present another new track in preview, thrash metal hate saw, The Last Act of Terror. I think, folks, if you know Nocturnal Breed, you have a pretty good idea of what to expect from this new album. And of course, if you missed it, make sure that you check out the episode that I did with Swartolf, which I think was about 3 or 4 episodes ago. But what a fantastic guy. What a fun conversation to have. And, you know, I say always when I do this segment, you know, you're getting my first reaction to a lot of songs, so I need to, in full transparency, tell you I've had the new Nocturnal Breed album for quite a few months. I listened to it quite a few times in the run-up to my conversation with Swartolf, so I know it, but I think you guys need to hear it anyway. And I think you're going to hear, particularly on this song, what I meant when I asked him about the mindset, or actually when I made my observations about the mindset of the record. And it's very much, to me, about a love of the music, a love of the feeling we get when we listen to this music, a love of discovering the music for the first time. It really, really comes out in all of the songs, but I think on this one in particular. So you're about to find out exactly what I mean. I mean, just total riff city. It's got that really, filthy analog production, which I think on this record works really, really well. The guitars sound cool. I think Swartolf's vocals sound unhinged. And just the whole thing, start to finish, I think is excellent. If you're into, blackened thrash metal in the vein of Au Noir, or frankly Nocturnal Breed, who've also been around for a long time now, then there really is no excuse for you not to be very, very excited about June the 23rd. And as I said to you, the rest of the record has a similar vibe. So if you like that, you're going to like what you hear on the rest of the album. We'll give it another 60 seconds. We will turn that cross around. Absolute genius. But yeah, great song. And yeah, I tell you what, when it comes to thrash, I would far sooner listen to this a fucking million times a day than I would ever listen to that atrocious Lost Creator record, or frankly, a whole bunch of the old guard and their newer produce. Okay, let's move on. The next band we've got, Stream of Passion, streaming new song and video online. I got to tell you, I can already tell by the photo I'm potentially not going to like this, but I kind of feel like because I've read the headline, I am now committed. So let's see what it sounds like, or hear what it sounds like, I should say. After last year's reactivation, symphonic metal purveyors Stream of Passion are now ready to release a brand new EP, Beautiful Warrior, on September the 9th. For a preview, you can now stream to the Hunter single and accompanying music video. Like I said, just judging by the photo, and I know you can't judge a book by its cover, but the band photos tend to tell you a fair bit. You know, anyone that looks like they are aiming to dress in some sort of faux Victorian garb, or bands that pull faces on their photos, I'm immediately nervous about. I have a degree of prejudice about how they may sound. But anyways, right, like I said, I'm committed to it. I mentioned it, so let's hear what this sounds like. I'm gonna have to call it a one and done there. She's got a good voice. The melody in that verse isn't too bad. The rest of the song, I'm afraid, is not cutting the mustard. If you're a fan of symphonic metal, you probably like that. You probably also don't listen to this podcast. Right, next up we've got VREID, who have released a new single called Vlammen. It says here, Norwegians VREID have premiered a brand new standalone single called Vlammen, their first musical output since the release of the Wild Northwest album in 2021. Wild Northwest, great record, in my opinion. I was going to get one of the guys in the band to come on the podcast, but unfortunately we never quite managed to get that together. So who knows, maybe down the road we'll be able to sort that out. But it's I think one thing that I definitely should mention about Wild Northwest that I really liked. I really liked the kind of film treatment, the cinematic treatment that they gave that record. And I know that was a project that a friend of the show, the very beautiful Katie Irizarry, worked on very hard and was extremely proud of. So yeah, I like that whole vibe. It's kind of like, VREID have sort of moved into their own lane a little bit. They kind of do, I think, to some degree, what Ghost does, but they do it through through black metal, and I think they do it very well. But anyways, let's hear what Vlammen sounds like. So far, It's 15 seconds worth of fire sounds for those of you listening to this on Spotify. So sounds like we're finally about to get started. There's an undercurrent of something pretty old school here, and I mean, it makes sense because of how long these guys have been around, but you can definitely pick it up, more so than I think anything that I heard off of Wild Northwest, and it sounds really good. It works really, really well, and it's something that, you know, when it's deployed as well as they've done it on this song, I'm surprised they didn't do it, or they haven't done it more on recent records. You know, in all honesty, I probably need to go back and listen to their older stuff to remind me how it sounds like. But yeah, it's pretty good. Music video isn't bad either. I mean, it's just them live. I'm surprised that they have the sort of money for the kind of stage production that they are flaunting on this video. But so far so good. I'm going to jump to the 3-minute 30-second mark because I'm curious to hear where the song goes from here. So we're hitting the song just past the halfway mark, and we'll get back to it. That is fucking excellent. That is 2 thumbs up excellent. And again, what I mentioned about the old school, you can hear that coming through very clearly in that music. I think that sounds very, very cool. And I think those clean vocals work exceptionally well also. And by the way, the music video, it's not just live stuff. Not to, I don't want to denigrate the work of Harvard Nesbo, the videographer. There's some pretty cool psychological horror treatment going on there as well. But we'll give it another 30 seconds. It's not the most aggressive, it's not the most brutal, savage, violent stuff that I've ever heard. I mean, far from it. But there's enough going on here to keep me very interested. I like this very, very much. So well done to the gentleman from VREID. And looking forward to hearing what it sounds like when they put out a follow-up to Wild Northwest. Okay, we listened to Gelt last week, so we're not going to listen to that again. Weregoat is releasing a 4-track EP next month. But it seems as though there's no music available on for that yet. Let's move on in that case. Iron Savior have got a new album out, but that's power metal, so we're going to give that a wide berth. Biocancer, upcoming record's first single unveiled. So Thrashers Biocancer, who I've never heard of, have unveiled details and a first single in connection to their third studio record, Revengeance. The upcoming new music effort, due out on September the 1st on Hammerheart Records, was recorded by George Emanuel at Pentagram Studios in Athens, Greece. Mixed and mastered by Pete Ruccio at Damage Studios in Southbridge, Massachusetts. Like I said, no idea what these guys sound like. The name is a little hacky, but let's see if the music can make up for that. So before he starts vocaling, I would just point out, I think the song is very cool with the exception of that guitar solo. I like guitar solos, but it just feels like it's a little tacked on in the context of what we just heard there. The riff sounds pretty good. The drummer sounds like he knows his fucking business. I mean, the production I think sounds pretty decent too. But as I said, I would probably, had I been their producer, I would have told them to ditch the solo. Don't have that at the start of the song. But like I said, curious to hear what it sounds like when this long-haired young rapscallion starts doing his vocals. Great drummer, decent riff. I think the bit where it speeds up maybe loses me a little bit. It's kind of like Overkill and Exodus on PCP, on some of that dust. But yeah, like I said, it's not bad. Am I going to be raving about it for years to come? I don't think so. But I can definitely see folks getting into this, pretty easily. There's just a lot of other things I would rather listen to. Okay, next up we've got Shade Empire, who have revealed their new single, Sun Holy. Finland's Shade Empire have released a captivating music video for the title track of their 6th studio album entitled Sun Holy. The latter will hit the streets on September the 15th, 2023 via Candlelight Records. It says here, the band comments, "We wanted to do things differently than before on the Sun Holy video as the music demanded epic landscapes. We ran into an extremely talented filmmaker, Oliver Koenig, whose previous works and beautiful sceneries caught our attention. So we went to shoot the video in the Austrian Alps and ended up on one of the highest peaks in Austria, 2,500 meters. We couldn't be more happy with the result. That is fucking plenty high." Shade Empire is a band who, in my experience with them, I kind of feel they've always straddled that line between Flesh God, Apocalypse-style symphonic death metal and Septic Flesh-style symphonic death metal. The latter is something that I could very much get into and am into. It sounds very convincing and it sounds very enjoyable. And then the former, I feel, is much like Cataclysm, a band who I said mean things about a couple of weeks back. It is all show and no go. It's a band that on paper, and if you were to analyze the music, against music theory, it would be very heavy, but it just lacks any sort of conviction. There's just nothing about it where I listen to it and I go, I feel that surge of adrenaline that you get from the very best of the best music. So, I'm curious to hear what they do on this song, whether or not they're going to lean into that Septic Flesh camp, or whether we've got another show no go style release coming our way. But only one way for us to find that out. That's not bad. Not bad at all, actually. Yes, the symphony is something that's been done many times before, and it's, it has gotten a bit boring. Do they use it as cleverly as Septic Flesh does? No, but they're not, it still doesn't sound tacked on. It sounds like it has a place. And the music video, I have to say, and I mentioned this because of the big deal they made about it, looks really good. Well shot. The landscape is beautiful. They do seem awfully high up, and I have to say, I wonder how they managed to get their instruments all the way there, because that one gentleman who plays guitar for them is plenty husky. I'm not sure he's carrying his guitar up anyway, without potentially keeling over of cardiac disease, onset heart attack. But yeah, so far so good. As soon as that fucking stupid clean vocal kicks in, I think I need to get myself one of those like bass drop, those bass boom sounds that they use on like the horror movie trailers, where things seem all okay on the surface, and then when the monster turns up, it's like. That's pretty much that would have fit really, really well with what you just heard there. They took a song that started off really well, had the makings of something really cool, really interesting, and they did what the Extinction Rebellion folk are doing to fine art in the London National Gallery or the Tate National Gallery, and throwing fucking tomato soup against it. They're spitting on something that would have been pretty cool. But those clean vocals, I'm sorry, they are unacceptable. They sound borderline pop music. I can definitely hear auto-tune in there as well. It's just not for me. I can understand that some people may enjoy it, but for me, it stinks. That's going to earn a thumbs down, I'm afraid. Remove that, and the song becomes, reasonably listenable. But at least for the time being, it is shite. Okay, Cloak announced a Mexican tour. I hope all my friends in Mexico go check them out. Cloak are a sensational band, and I am so pleased for Scott and everybody in the band that Black Flame Eternal is doing as well as it's doing, because it's a phenomenal album. This is a band that, in my view, are due their comeuppance, and I think they're going to get it with this record, much like Necrosphere, who I spoke about on last week's podcast. They're kind of, both of those bands to me feel like bands in the ascendancy. And frankly, I know that some of them listen to the podcast. I think that they should be going out on tour together. We've got a Scar Symmetry music video. I would rather take a fucking knife to my scrotum than listen to that nonsense. Then we've got Ex Mortis, Beyond the Grave. It says here, Beyond the Grave is the newest single from Ex Mortis' upcoming record, Necrophony. It's premiered online in the form of an official lyric video. Southern Californian's new outing will be set free on August the 25th through Nuclear Blast. I feel like the Nuclear Blast quality control department is failing it a little bit, because ever since this Atomic Fire Nuclear Blast split, Nuclear Blast seems desperate to sign up as many legacy bands as they can, even if those legacy bands don't necessarily have the following or the embedded fan base to merit them being signed. And Ex Mortis is one of those bands. I mean, I just do not see the world screaming out for another Ex Mortis record. They've always been a reasonably mid-tier, like if you were to use the S, A, B, C, D, and E tier ranking that the gentleman from Metal Trenches uses, it's probably D tier. I mean, I would say at best it's D tier, actually. Sometimes C tier, but not frequently. So I don't really know where they fit in a world where Ulcerate are making records and Nightmare are making records and Cattle Decapitation are making records. But clearly somebody at Nuclear Blast thinks people are going to dig this. So let's hear if they're right.
Darkness from the light, evil thoughts consume my mind. Is my soul to be condemned? Will I become as one of them? It's taking over me. This can't be real. There is for murdering. My mind is thinking hell. It's the demons from the past in my head, they're haunting me. The revolting body mass from beyond is touching me. They cease to leave me be. There's no escape. Ungodly majesty. They seal my fate. Me who my might enslaved. Torment from beyond the grave.
Good guitar solo. The production is clean and crisp. The performances are pretty tight, but I mean that's also largely down to studio trickery. But I mean beyond that, there is nothing that I'm hearing here that is going to change my mind. Give me Werewolves any day of the week and twice on Sunday. This is something that if I were 13 years old and just getting into death metal, and I discovered Ex Mortis, maybe I'd be excited, but. I'm too battle weary. So anyway, Uada announced new album and premiere new single. This comes hot on the heels of the scandalous news that broke, I believe, last week. And we didn't talk about it on the podcast because we'd already spoken about one sexual predator in Till from Rammstein. But anyway, long story short, Uada fired their guitarist, essentially accused him of being a predator, and then they kind of got entangled in a back and forth between their guitarist and between the guitarist's soon-to-be ex-wife. I've gone through, and I'm not going to reiterate all of it here, but I've looked at some of the messages that were sent and the messages that were posted, and I think there's two ways you can see it. Like either on one hand, old Jake Superchi and the rest of the Uada gang did a bro dirty, or he really is a predator and his chickens have come home to roost. What I would say as a takeaway from this. And we spoke about it last week. I was about to say yesterday. Last week when Marco and I spoke about Till from Bromstein as well. If I could give any of you young bloods in bands any advice, steer far away. Steer very, very clear. And it doesn't matter whether you were single or taken. Don't get yourself entangled with any strange sexual dalliances whilst you're on the road, because it is not worth it. All it takes is for someone somewhere to feel slighted, hard done by, or even in some cases just purely attention seeking, a little bit off the rails, a little bit mentally unstable, and your career and your life is fucking over. And I mean, obviously in this case, James Sloan, the guitarist, he's admitted that he's done wrong, and obviously his marriage is over. So that comes with the territory. If you want to be a philanderer, you need to pay the price. But just as a general rule, I think if you're on the road, I don't give a shit whether you are married or whether you're free and unfettered. I would steer very, very, very clear of any female attention, because it's just not worth it. The risks in 2023 are too high. Now, that is almost a side. It's a sideshow, because the real deal, obviously, is the fact that Eduardo have announced a new album. I know a lot of people will be very excited about this, and I have to admit, I have not yet seen, no matter how many times I've gone back and tried to listen to Eduardo with a very positive mindset, an open and welcoming heart, I've yet to see what the appeal is. I have to say this. And I know they've toured with, some phenomenal bands. They have gone on tour with, the guys in Panzerfaust. Panzerfaust, obviously, in my view, one of the very, very best of the best bands going right now. But for me personally, Eduardo have just always lacked some of that severity and violence that I love so much in black metal. And unlike VREID, they don't make up for it with anything else. The music just feels a little soft. It feels like it's soft music written by soft men. And we know, obviously, they're not soft men. James's roadside antics prove that. But that being said, let's read the rest of the article. It says they have shared news of new music from the band in the form of a new album. It's going to be called Crepuscule Natura. It's going to arrive on the 8th of September via Eisenwald and Obsidian Spells. And the first single, Retroversing the Void, can now be heard. It says here, the band posted the following: in the name of destruction and rebirth, behold! We are honored to share with you a lyric video for our first single, Retroversing the Void, from our upcoming Fourth Dimension album, Crepuscule Natura, out via Eisenwald and Obsidian Spells on September the 8th, 2023. Will it change my mind about this band? We're about to find out. So we're 90 seconds in, and it's not looking good, I've got to say. As soon as I heard that guitar solo bending right at the very beginning of the song, I knew that it was, in all likelihood, not going to be my cup of tea. I think that the melody sounds repetitive. It sounds trite. The production, the mix feels like it's lacking something, it's lacking impact. I haven't heard what the vocals sound like. The thing with this is, as I'm sitting there listening, I'm wondering to myself whether maybe they're one of those bands that you need to see live to really kind of get and to really appreciate. And maybe I need to do that. But right now, and I mean this sincerely, I've tried many, many times to get into this band and to see what really what people love about them so much. Why are they? What's the big deal? What's the appeal? Because they're a very popular band in certain circles, but I'm missing it. I don't hear a goddamn thing that I find in any way appealing. So we'll give it another 60 seconds or so, but they're gonna have to pull off some fucking major unholy miracles in the next 60 seconds for me to like this. Those last 10 seconds with the semi-break bridge, whatever you want to call it, that was probably the only part of the song I've liked. The vocals aren't bad. They're not particularly remarkable. But in the main, this is just, to me, very overrated. I don't know what I'm missing. You guys let me know in the comments if you think there's something in particular that I need to go back and revisit. But right now, folks, I don't see it. Necrosphere and Cloak, who I mentioned earlier, in my view, both superior, vastly superior bands. Okay, let's see what's next. We have got Legion of the Damned releasing a new music video for the song Contamination. But unfortunately, the video is unavailable because it has been changed to private on YouTube. So unfortunately, Legion of the Damned fail in their opportunity to appear on the hallowed Into the Necrosphere news rant. There's also news here that Octurus is working on new material. It's been 8 years since Norwegian metal cosmonauts Octurus released their last album, Arctuarian. Finally, they are hard at work finishing a new full-length in the studio of the band's own Nut Magna Vala, however you pronounce it. The recording process is currently underway. I can't even remember Arcturian, but I do like Octurus, so looking forward to hearing what the rest of it sounds like. Then we've got The Right. So it says here, Iron Bonehead Productions announces on August the 11th, 2023 as the international release date for The Right's second album, The Astral Gloom. It's coming out on CD and vinyl LP formats. The track Nosophoros serves as a first taste of what to expect from the band's new musical offering. Skull and crossbone adorned gravestone is the cover. I've never heard of these guys before, but let's give this a spin. I don't mind that. Very old school. I think the riff is pretty good. Vocals aren't bad at all. The drumming is a little elementary, I think, especially for this kind of music. It reminds me in a weird way of Enstiller. I don't know why, but I know that Enstiller are actually putting together a new record now, which I'm very excited about. Just as a side note, but yeah, the first band that came to mind when I listened to this was Enstiller. But yeah, so far so good. I'm going to give that a half a thumb up because I think it's got potential, but I just don't think it's quite there yet. However, whilst it was playing, I went on YouTube because I need to play you guys this song just as a little palate cleanser before we carry on with the rest of the segment. So I mentioned Enstiller. If you've not heard this tune yet, you seriously need to fucking check your life, check your priorities. It's off an album they put out back in 2011. It's called Infection 1813 was the album, and the song is called Bloody H, the Hurt Gene. Absolutely fucking savage, and I'm about to hit you guys with it right now.
Welcome to the first ever
no, apparently I won't, because there's I'm back on my own on my Into the Necrosphere account, so let me change it. There we go. Right, there we go. So let's hear what the rest of the tune sounds like after those technical hitches. But yeah, this is to me the way black metal should sound. Like if an alien landed from outer space, which apparently I hear there are 10-foot men from space roaming the backyards in America. I mean, I don't know what's going on there, but anyway. If any of those guys were to knock on the door with their long tendril-like hands and they say, "Tell us what black metal sounds like," you could play them this song and they will know exactly what you mean. Genius, absolute fucking genius. And when that song slows down and the vocals kick in, I mean, it is just absolutely ripping. There's a part where he screams something about, I don't know what it is, something hateful and evil, no doubt, but he goes, and again and again, and just absolute genius. We're going to listen until we get to that point. And when we get to that point, you guys are going to thank me, because you'll see it's well worth it. I mean, that's beyond top notch. That is absolutely sensational, and that is exactly the standards to which black metal should be held, amongst other things. I'll tell you what, I've been digging back into that Room album. Oh my God, it's good. It is, every single time I listen to it, it just gets better. And I start to make more connections back to Ordo Wat Ko, to Grand Declaration of War, or Ordo Wat Ko in particular. It feels to me like this is kind of the spiritual successor to Ordo Wat Ko, and it is just fucking phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. As it stands right now, I am not sure that there's going to be a record that can top that in 2023. It is just so fucking good. I barely have the words for it. Right, I'll tell you what though. You know who will try to top it is Fen. They have now released multiple singles from their new record, but gift us with one more. The single is called Racked. It says 1 month prior the release of their 7th full-length installment, Monuments to Absence, which will be available on Prophecy Productions. England's Fen offering listening the 3rd single in advance called Racked. Let's hear what it sounds like. Fantastic riffing. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but I kind of feel like Fen are dabbling in the same style as Uada, but they just execute what they set out to do with just so much more pizzazz. I don't know if that's the right word, but riffing sounds fantastic. I like the production. That rolling bass line that I hear underneath that riff, it sounds absolutely top notch. Let's get back to it. Love it. I think the clean vocals sound great. I think the screaming vocals sound excellent. I think the whole song just works perfectly. I think that is worthy of top notch. Not worthy of top notch, though. I noticed the comment that they included with the release of this single. So I'll read the quote here. There are days when one is struck by a sense of such overwhelming black despair that it strikes almost as a physical force, says the band. We are literally racked with sorrow, so overcome with the deepest sadness that it hits like a blow, staggering one backwards, grinding us to a halt. All one can do at such points is wait for the wave to subside, to retreat into the dark, yawning chasm of one's own mind, and hope the storm will pass as swiftly as possible. Racked speaks of those days. I've got to say, I read stuff like that sometimes and I think, what would this generation do if we lived 100 years ago, or if we lived, during the First World War, or the Second World War? Because honestly, as much as folks might feel like we're living in tough times, and it's without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, these are challenging times. There's culturally things that aren't going in the right direction. Politically, there's things that are not going in the right direction. We've got the war in Ukraine. We've got a lot that should keep us up and should keep us awake at night. But there's also no doubt whatsoever that we are living in the comparatively easiest times in human history. I mean, one statistic that I read that is really eye-opening is that our life expectancy has increased by 97% since the year 1900. In the year 1900, people were dying at the age of 35, 38. Girls were having to, have kids at the age of 12 or 13. I mean, you want to talk about, the amount of progress we've made when it comes to equal rights for women, equal rights for all races, being more accepting of, folks of any persuasion, background, religion. Yes, there's work still to be done, but there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that things are substantially better now than they were. And I do think that when we allow ourselves to get wrapped up in the negativity that surrounds, daily life in 2023, especially in the West, I feel like that's surrender. It's surrendering to something that is not as it's certainly not as insidious or as sinister or as life-threatening as any of the forces that I've mentioned before. I hope I'm making sense there, and I'm not sounding too esoteric. Maybe it's because of that goddamn esoteric note that they put in there. But I think you guys know what I mean. If you allow yourself to get too caught up in all the negativity and the things that you cannot control in your own life, it takes you away from actually taking action over the things that you can control. And I've said this before, my take, and it might not be for everybody, but from my perspective, you either tackle what's in front of you and you move forward, or you sit back and you be a fuck up. I don't think there's a middle ground, really. And personally, I think that's one of the worst things about religion. I think if ever religion had something a truly negative effect on the human psyche, it's that it takes human beings away from what is most critical and most immediately demanding of attention in their own lives, because they don't necessarily think of the immediate future and of the here and now. What they're thinking about is, I'm going to end up in heaven, or I'm going to, there's this crazy afterlife, rebirth, whatever the case may be, waiting for me after I die. And so their mind is kind of split between the future and the present. And I don't think that that's a healthy place to be in. And I think equally, when you look at the world right now and you think it's the worst time to be alive, and a lot of people do. You see these roving camera shows on YouTube and stuff like that, and they'll talk to younger people especially, and a lot of these folks say, it's never been more racist than it is right now. It's never been worse to be a woman than it is right now. Are you fucking kidding me? Have you read about the 1950s and the 1960s? Have you read about the 1800s? So, yeah. That being said, if that's what inspires them to write music I enjoy, then those young men in Fen can do whatever they want and can say whatever they want. But that's just my take, and I thought I would share it. And I don't want to sound like I'm preaching or anything like that, but it is what it is. Okay, next up, we've got Shining, who have returned with their 11th studio record. I am a very, very big fan of Shining. It says here, the Swedes Shining are back with self-titled 11th studio album, a masterpiece of inescapable darkness, to be released on September the 15th, 2023 through Napalm Records. Along with unveiling the details for their new outing comes the torturing, intense first single, Eftboren. It says here the video is age restricted and only available on YouTube. And Niklas Quaforth, he says that Eftboren is a lengthy homage to death that will possess your soul during the very first spin. So let's see what it looks like. As I said, big fan of Shining, and they're one of those bands that kind of have their own vibe no matter what the... I'm just going to hit play on this sucker so we can get it going. Just as well that I moved to my personal YouTube account so that we don't have to run the risk of seeing that Guardian ad that I despise so much. The mission of the Guardian is to speak truth to power. that sort of thing lands you straight in the gulag as far as I'm concerned. All right, I'm going to skip ahead by about 15 seconds because it looks like there's some sort of intro. And then brace yourselves if you are easily offended. And in full transparency, I have seen this music video. It's fucking disgusting. So if you've got somebody squeamish in the room and you're watching this on YouTube, best get the pillow ready to cover your eyes for the duration. So musically, excellent. I mean, unsurprising that these guys would put out something that sounds like this, but it sounds twisted, it sounds dark, it sounds unique. I like what he's doing with these vocals. That very short little guitar lick sounds absolutely wicked. The whole thing sounds great. Music video, I mean, standard fare for these guys, you know, grown men writhing around naked in a pool of blood, women bent over nude, some dude standing there with a belt ready to whip them, people sniffing cocaine. So it's fucked up. There's no two ways about it. The photography style kind of reminds me a bit of a French horror movie. Like, I don't know whether I would maybe compare it to Inside or Martyrs or something like that, but yeah. I mean, the music video is definitely not going to be for everyone, but don't let that take you, if you are squeamish, don't let that take you away from the music, because, I mean, this is fucking sensational. And that immediately takes it to 10 out of 10 levels, because there is nothing better than perfectly timed, perfectly placed voice noise. Just a ooh at the right time. Absolute genius. And I like he's actually one of the only guys that can get away with the whispering. That sigh, sigh, sigh whisper that he did there. Fantastic. Fantastic. And also one of the most disturbing music videos you're going to see probably in your entire life. So watch it if you dare, but without a shadow of a doubt, make sure that album is at the very top of your list when it comes to, or not very top, but in the upper echelons of your list of stuff to check out when it gets released. All right, Imperial Triumphant present a cover of Radiohead's Paranoid Android. Very interesting song to cover. And I must say, I don't really know if Radiohead are a band that should be covered, if I'm perfectly honest with you. Like, there are a couple of bands that lend themselves extremely well to being covered. So Celtic Frost is a good example. If you listen to the cover of Dethroned Emperor that Vader did, Vital Remains did a cover as well, sensational. Circle of the Tyrants that Obituary did, absolutely fantastic. I've heard a couple of great covers of Into the Crypt of Rays. they're a band that just for whatever reason people can kind of absorb the core of the song, and they can express it in their own voice, and it sounds fantastic. Black Sabbath, another great example of a band that you can do that with. But Radiohead to me fall into that camp of bands that I just think other bands should stay away from. Radiohead is one, Type O Negative is the other, Fugazi is the other. I heard a cover of a Fugazi song called Blueprint by a band called Last Gang the other day, and honestly, if the stars were to ever align in such a way that I become supreme ruler of the world, I can tell you right now, one of the first groups of people to face the firing squads right after the pedophiles is the Last Gang, and it's because of that atrocious cover that they did, taking one of the greatest songs that band ever produced and completely destroying it. So that's just a side rant. But anyways, it says here, New York-based avant-garde metal operatives Imperial Triumphant are presenting a brand new single, a cover for the Radiohead track Paranoid Android. It's available for streaming together with an animated video clip directed by Above the Void. Zachary Ezrin on vocals and guitar comments, "We are huge fans of Radiohead and their ethos. We feel that Radiohead have a diverse and unique approach to songcraft and lyricism that we always gravitated towards, and the song Paranoid Android lays out a perfect canvas for us to play and create with." Kudos to them for giving it a crack. We're going to hear what it sounds like in a second, and you know, everyone knows I'm a big fan of Radiohead. They're one of those bands where their discography is laden with an unbelievable amount of garbage. But when everything lines up and everything works, you get songs like Everything in Its Right Place, Packed Like Sardines, what other, the Pyramid Song. I mean, just songs that are mind-bogglingly good. You also, unfortunately, you know, in order to get to the sweet, juicy center, you have to work your way through trash like Creep and, you know, just things that, I mean, even as far as I know, the band are pretty embarrassed by. But when they're good, they're fantastic. And Paranoid Android was a song where they were fantastic. So I'm curious to hear how Imperial Triumphant reinterpret this tune. I have to say, I'm actually pretty surprised by that. I think that fretless bass is a nice addition. I think it adds something quite interesting to the song. You know, doing it with heavier guitars. This is actually a song that, at least in the beginning of the track, is acoustic. For those of you guys that don't know what it sounds like, it will be interesting to go back and compare the two. But I know that if I listen to Paranoid Android, I would definitely get this pulled off of YouTube or blocked, and that's just a pain in the arse, not one I want to deal with. But, I mean, do yourself a favor and go back and listen to the original track. I think they actually don't do a bad job. The vocals, I don't know whether that necessarily conveys the emotion in the song, because, I mean, all of their songs, when they're at their best, they're quite emotive songs. And I don't know whether it's really coming across with those vocals. But everything else, actually, I think is surprisingly quite interesting. And it helps that they've got musicians that really know their shit. I mean, that drummer sounds fantastic. And equally, I think it's not just a case of them being technically proficient. It's the fact that they can interpret the music the way that they've done it, and, you know, again, express it in their own voice. So I'm not hating it. I'm surprised that I'm not hating it, actually. But let's give it another 60 seconds. one thing that this song also, even though they do it completely differently, one thing that remains intact, and it is stunning to me, the melody in this song, the lead melody, is just beautiful, mesmerizing. It's dark, it's hypnotic, it's fantastic. I'll tell you another thing I don't hate about this music video is the actual video itself. I don't know who Above the Void is, but this music video reminds me a little bit of some of the more recent AI created music videos that we've seen, and I think it looks fucking cool. I think it suits the song and it suits the band really, really well. And I actually think that more bands should do it, because honestly, I mean, if it works that well, I'm not for AI taking over riff writing and stuff like that. But as far as music videos is concerned, I would sooner have that than I would have the old OAP running through the woods in his underpants motif that we've seen so much of. I think, folks, that's pretty much it. News here about Psychroptic, who are going to embark on a North American tour with Decrepit Birth. Shout out to Jason Papiat of Psychroptic. It was recently his birthday. He is, in my view, a man amongst men. And that is one of the greatest compliments that I can give him. So if he's listening, I hope he knows I mean that from the heart. But if you are in the States, make sure you go check them out. They are just an absolutely sensational band. And again, a band, in my view, back on the ascendancy. I mean, they've always been, operating at a pretty high level. But I feel like with that last album of theirs, they really, really kind of, turned up the voltage a little bit. Okay, let's move over to the old Democrats' Guide to Rock Music, Blabbermouth. Let's see what that has in store for us. We've got new music by Ginger, which I am not going to listen to. We have news of Dee Snider ruling out a Twisted Sister reunion tour, saying that part of his life is done. There is also some Dee Snider news later on, so I'm not going to pause on that one. Then we've got Testament performing at Finland's Rockfest. We've got John Karabi on Mick Mars's lawsuit against Motley Crue. This is playing out exactly as I thought it would. I bet you did, although it is pretty funny to see that whole shambles that has unfolded. Tragic news about Moonspell. And I say tragic, I mean, it's not like life and death tragic, but it's not nice to see either way. So the headline here reads, Moonspell frontman undergoing tests at Lisbon hospital after playing what he called the hardest gig of his 30-plus year career. Vocalist Fernando Ribeiro of Portuguese metalist Moonspell is undergoing tests at a Lisbon hospital after playing what he says was the hardest gig of his life at a Polish festival. On Friday, June the 9th, Fernando took to social media to write, I want to both say thanks and to apologize to the amazingly empathic crowd of Mystic Festival in Gdansk, Poland. Thank you for your support in the hardest gig of my life in 30 years of Moonspell. Life lately hasn't been kind on me. The pandemics, the comeback with 3 months on tour in harsh conditions, personal things, the ugly state of our world, and some health problems have been piling up, and yesterday I crushed under the weight in front of you. No other way to put it. Apologies, because I feel it's my duty to always be on top vocal and physical shape. To our fans who pay their hard-earned money to see our show, no excuses. Nevertheless, make no mistake, I gave you all I had and beyond that, and I made it through the whole show, leaving the stage standing and walking on my own feet. Nothing of this would be possible without the love of my band, crew, and fans. I shall never forget. There are some photos here of him on an IV and some medical staff tending to him. I've seen Moonspell a couple of times, and he does play a reasonably energetic show, quite a physical show for the style of music that they do. And I've also met Fernando, and he's a lovely guy. So I hope that whatever is ailing him, he gets better very soon. And again, man, like I've said before, it's a sad thing to see some of our heroes of our teen years get older and become more susceptible to I guess the rigors of getting old. Getting one step closer to the old cemetery. I mentioned that there was some more Dee Snider news. I mean, I didn't even need to scroll down to know that there would be, because he's kind of become the Blabbermouth's new Ted Nugent, in that we have to see something about him really in every third or fourth article. But this I did find particularly ridiculous. So Dee Snider says, Twisted Sister would not be allowed to perform in certain US states due to drag laws. In a new interview with 107.7's RKR's morning show, Dee Snider spoke about how his song We're Not Gonna Take It has seen its fair share of political action in recent years. He talks a bit here about why he wrote the song, and in one breath says it's about empowerment no matter what side of the aisle you're on or no matter how you apply it to your life. Talks about how it's been co-opted by the left and by the right. But later on he goes on to say, let's talk about the drag bans, Dee said. My band would not be allowed to perform in Texas. We would fall under that heading, the new rule. If they pass these rules, men wearing lipstick, nail polish and makeup. So do I stand with the LGBTQ+/drag community? 100%. I heard the community has reached out about using We're Not Going to Take It as their battle cry, and I said, with my blessing, brothers and sisters, go for it. I stand with them. Now, I am going to have to fact check Dee Snider on this one, because as far as I know, and we're going to Google it in real time so we can double check that I'm not full of shit, there are no bans on any drag shows in America. There is a ban on drag shows taking place in public where potentially minors could see it and could see sexually explicit content. So we're going to check it very quickly. Are drag shows illegal in Texas? The note here says, Texas passes sexual conduct bill, drag show artists fear will prompt crackdown. Texas will expand what is considered to be an illegal public performance of sexual conduct under a bill approved late Sunday by state lawmakers that fear drag artists will be used to criminalize their shows. What is the dancing law in Texas? The newly passed bill banned exotic dance clubs and any other sexually orientated business from, that's actually about strip clubs. And then the anti-drag law, it says here, the Texas House gives final approval Monday to a bill restricting children from seeing sexually explicit performances. Senate Bill 12 was originally designed to restrict kids from attending drag shows, but its most recent version seeks to criminalize any live performance that the bill defines as sexual. My understanding is that this is specifically around shows that take place in a public place where kids can see. And from my perspective, I don't think that that's unreasonable whatsoever. I also don't think that you have to be a hate monger to believe that that's not an unreasonable opinion. I don't have any issues with any member of the LGBTQ plus community. I think that adults doing things with other adult human beings in the privacy of their own home, in the confines of the law, is absolutely fine, and I've never had any issues with it. But what I will say is that I think that the dishonesty around what the news and what people like Dee Snider are calling the quote-unquote drag bans, I don't think that is helping the cause of the LGBTQ plus community whatsoever, particularly the trans community, because I think there is firstly, I've yet to hear an argument that suggests to me that, or that convinces me that being able to perform, to do drag performances in front of children is an essential part of the trans experience. And then secondly, again, like I said, people are just outright lying about it. They're certainly lying about the intent behind it. I mean, he's acting as though Twisted Sister wouldn't be allowed to play in Texas. Give me a break. We all know that in all likelihood there will be absolutely no issue with them doing it unless Dee is going to take some form of sexual paraphernalia and do something reasonably explicit with it on stage, in which case if he did that in front of adults, as far as I know, there'd be no issue with it. And I would have no issue with it, but I do have an issue with kids being exposed to it in exactly the same way as if I had a 9-year-old son, I wouldn't give him a copy of Hustler, and I certainly wouldn't take my kids to a strip club or to I was about to say bordello, but any form of titillation or striptease and things like that. And it's the same argument that I have about sexual instruction in school. That's no teacher's business. I don't want a teacher talking to my child about sex, whether it's straight sex, gay sex, doesn't matter. that's something for me to discuss with my child. It's not something for a teacher to discuss. Teachers should be focused on helping my kids learn to read, write, study history, study geography, biology, whatever the case may be, as long as that biology doesn't include fucking. So, I mean, that's my position, and I don't think that it's unreasonable to take that position. And frankly, I know that a lot of other people feel the same way, which is why you see the backlash against places like Target and Budweiser, is because people feel like they're being pushed too far, and now they're voting with their wallets. They feel like if they were to publicly go out and say anything about or question, how they feel about stuff, or actually raise questions in relation to things that are being passed in their communities and in their states, they feel they're going to be ostracized. So therefore, they are going to be voting with their wallets. And the more that the news and folks like Dee Snider condemn those people as terrorists, the harder they're going to start pushing back against it. And that's why I say I don't necessarily think it's going to benefit this community in any way. So, and like I said, that comes from a place of absolutely no bigotry for any person whatsoever. I think anyone should be able to live free and express themselves however they want. But I don't think that it is. I don't think that it's something worth condemning when people want to say, I don't want my kids to be exposed to that, because I think, there's a time and a place for everything. When they grow older, they can make their own decisions, and they will make those decisions with my instruction, and that's it. The other thing that's ironic about Dee Snider here is that he's very clearly attempting to placate and to please a group of people who only recently have banned him from every single show or every single event that they were going to host, because he dared to question gender transition for minors, which, by the way, quite a few countries are now questioning also. I saw recently that the NHS is going to put a stop to it here in the UK. As far as I know, Finland and Sweden have put a stop to, certainly to hormone therapy and things like that. So that's also not an unreasonable position to take. And I've said this before, but I just think it's extraordinarily disingenuous that we can't speak openly about this, or we can't speak honestly about this, because, again, as I said, I don't think a lot of people are coming from a dishonest place, but they're being gaslit into believing that they're scum for daring to question anything. And the consequences of that is not going to be positive, because when people become resentful, they become hateful. So that's my view on that. Speaking of people who are hateful, David Ellefson, I've watched the quality of Megadeth diminish over the last 5 years. He's another one on Blabbermouth, where literally we have to hear something from him every fucking 5 seconds. Then we also hear of Metallica's performance at this weekend's UK Download Festival. Apparently drew noise complaints. So according to Derbyshire Live, police have received a number of calls from local residents concerned about the noise coming from Download, the annual music event held at Donington Park near Castle Donington in Leicestershire, United Kingdom. Last night's headlining performance by Metallica was reportedly heard as far away as West Hallam, northeast of Derby, some 15 miles from the festival. That seems a little far-fetched. Fairly strong winds and a potential sound system upgrade may have contributed to the distance the noise travelled, the report said. A potential sound system upgrade. Could you not have called them beforehand just to say, hey, listen, did you upgrade your sound system? I mean, it's such a bizarre thing to put into an article. In a statement, Derbyshire Police confirmed it had received a number of complaints about the noise coming from the festival in a neighbouring county. We are receiving a number of calls from residents concerned about noise from the Download Festival this evening, the Force spokesman said. Download Festival is an annual music event held at Donington Park near Castle Donington in Leicestershire. Did he say that as well? Fucking weirdo. We're not able to help with concerns about noise, but Northwest Leicestershire District Council have provided information around what residents can expect and what to do if you are experiencing unreasonable noise levels. And then we've got, in typical English fashion, a bunch of people snivelling on Facebook about it. One resident posts, "Is it Download you can hear around Kirk Hallam this evening? Or is it someone living out their rock and roll dreams on the back garden?" Another person agreed, saying, "It's amazing. Could actually hear Metallica singing, innit?" Another Facebook post said, "This is ridiculous, fam. Download Festival is 6 miles away and the thudding is unreal. It's like sitting on a dildo, innit, bruv?" That's not in there, but anyway, it's people moaning about fucking bullshit, and I'm sure, knowing how the police prioritize their time and their resources here in the UK, the full strength of the full brunt of the English police will be unleashed against Download. I'm just having a scan through the lineup, mostly shite, to be fair, but there's a couple of bright spots. They had Terror playing on Sunday. I'm not sure that people who stuck around for Soul Glow or Touche Amore would have been particularly excited to see Terror, but you never know. They also had Hatebreed, Electric Callboy, I've never heard of before, but anyway, they had them. And Bob Villain, another dude I've never heard of before. Ice 9 Kills, a shit band. Yeah, like I said, I mean, this is not really our kind of thing, is it? I'll tell you what is our kind of thing, though. Reaper Fest. I spoke about it earlier in the podcast. If you don't have your tickets yet, make sure you get it, because old Smith is going to be there. Oh, my God. Speaking of bands that should not be covered, Sisters of Mercy's Temple of Love, covered by Black Veil Brides and Ville Valo of Him. Now, we're going to probably wrap up with this one, because we spoke about Ville Valo on the conversation with a gentleman from Church of the Dead. I don't like him very much. I especially don't like the Black Veil Birds. And I think that Sisters of Mercy, if even Warrell Dane couldn't pull off a Sisters of Mercy cover, and let's be fair, Warrell Dane could pull off just about anything, but he massacred Lucretia, My Reflection. You know, one of the few blemishes of his career. But anyway, if not even he could do that, I cannot see how the Black Veil Birds could possibly pull off Temple of Love. But let's hear what it sounds like.
Fire from the fireworks up above me, with a gun for a lover and a shot for the painted hand. You run for cover in the temple of love. You run for another, but it's still the same, for the wind will blow my name across this land. In the temple of love, shine like thunder. In the temple of love, cry like rain. In the temple of love.
Folks, I personally think that they should deploy that belt-wielding psychopath from the Shining video to teach these soy-sipping nerds in Black Veil Birds a lesson, because that is fucking terrible. Absolutely terrible. I'll tell you what has not been terrible, though, this segment, but it is now wrapped up. That brings us to the end of another episode of Into the Necrosphere. I will be back next week, guest to be announced, but I do think that you guys are all going to be rather excited when you find out who it is. Once again, my paranoia supersedes my need to tell you who it is, so keep an eye on the socials, because I'll post something about it once that interview has been recorded and it's in the can. For now, though, I want to play you out with one of the most criminally underrated bands in the history of music, as far as I'm concerned. I've spoken many times about how much I love these guys and how much I desperately wish that they would get back together. That band, of course, out of Norway, Red Harvest, off of their Cold Dark Matter album. I'm going to play you the title track, but not before I wish you a great week ahead, whatever it is, what you do, wherever it is that you are. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you bad motherfuckers again next Tuesday.